That was His Majesty King Charles III there, emphasising the importance of community, compassion and service. The King highlighted the significance of the Christmas story's message of kindness and the role of volunteers as society's backbone. He acknowledges the challenges faced by many at the minute and the growing awareness of environmental stewardship, concluding there with a call to treat others as we wish to be treated. He extends a message of gratitude to those serving others and wishes for peace and goodwill at the festive season. I'm joined now by the royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams to discuss the King's speech. Richard, what did you make of that?
I thought that it was a beautifully crafted speech. I mean, at the heart of it, there was the call to serve and also to care. And there's little doubt that interwoven in it is, of course, the religious message, which is pivotal at this time of year. But also, very, very significantly, he talked of a time of hardship for many. Now, clearly, that linked to the cost of living crisis. And of course, he talked about the international situation, mentioning that this was a period that was so unstable, but also very much into what is, I think, a very sensitive broadcast. There was the environmental theme. So there were several themes. He also, of course, was emphasizing the interreligious understanding. So he's worked several very, very significant aspects into this broadcast, and I thought it went beautifully.
Yes, I mean, Richard, how does this compare if you think back to Her Majesty the Queen? You notice the King was standing up to deliver his speech. Is this perhaps a sign of the change in direction that the King wants to go in as far as modernity of the institution's concerned?
Well, of course, every monarch has their own style. The Queen used to be known as One Take Windsor for her alacrity. These broadcasts, I mean, she was superb at them, and I think she rather enjoyed them. They've been televised since 1957. Of course, the tradition dates back to 1932 and King George V. But there's little doubt that he's clearly, for example, with the background, environmentally friendly, the decorations, the fact that this is a tree with roots and will be planted in the ground and so forth. Obviously, that is distinctive. But equally, yes, he takes a new posture. And I think that it worked rather well because he was making some important points. And the posture reinforced the various messages that, as I say, with interreligious understanding at a period of hardship for many, at a time which was internationally unstable, but also in which the royal family played their part, as we saw from the footage. This is most important, of course, the coronation, which a centrepiece of the year for him, but also the work done by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Princess Royal and others. So you had well over 2,000 engagements carried out by our first family, and this gave you a brief reminder of what they did. And we saw the King in Kenya, which of course was a particularly sensitive visit and which he handled very well, I thought.
Yes, I mean, Richard, the highlighting of those members of the royal family who are still working royals and who His Majesty the King really does want to keep as his core, as it were. Do you actually think that the highlighting of those particular royals is sending a subliminal message, perhaps, to say, look, this is who matters going forward?
Oh, absolutely, because this is, in fact, the royal family of the future. They're only 4 under 70, and it's perfectly true that there have been problems in this year. Everyone is well aware. It began with the launch of Harry's memoir, Spare, and it ended with a fiasco over with Scobie's book Endgame. There's this aspect to it, which obviously he didn't mention in the speech, but which again has come into so much commentary. What's at its heart is that the monarchy is there to serve, that has the longest serving Prince of Wales in our history. He will be a monarch who's fully aware of his role, which is to be advised, to encourage and warn, but also that the monarchy, above party politics, has a pivotal role to play in our society. And it's the only institution in the world, because we saw the royal family at St. Mary Magdalene Church this morning, and also with the King's Christmas message, which is broadcast worldwide as well as to the other realms in the Commonwealth. This is the only family in the world who has an audience of the size of the world's most high-profile royal family, and also one which has so many devoted and dedicated members. And I think we should be very grateful for that, and also to have the King make such a thought-provoking and interesting and beautifully woven Christmas message.
Yes, Richard, that's absolutely correct. But I wondered, this is a time of year in which love and selflessness and family, community, all of those themes are incredibly important. I wonder, would there be one presence that is perhaps missing from the King's life at the moment, which, of course, you mentioned Harry's biography there. That was indeed a really incredibly hard thing and stressful, I've no doubt, for the King and the monarchy itself to go through. Do you think they would have spoken to each other over this time of year, or do you think the relationship is just so incredibly frosty that that's just not possible at this time?
Well, we know that Harry spoke to the King on his 75th birthday, and it was reported that they would subsequently speak. But there's absolutely no question, and a lot of people feel very strongly about this. I mean, one has to be frank, it's been a difficult few years for the royal family when it comes to relations with the Sussexes and issues linked to the Duke of York. The facts are, however, that at its centre and at its core, what you have is dedicated family members, and also the King. No question at all, he's well aware of the points you raise. Whether they've spoken to each other or not, I am unaware, but I suspect it would be much better if we didn't know, and then perhaps in the months and years to come, we'll see what happens. It's an unpredictable world, as the King was saying, and of course, bearing in mind the conflict in Ukraine, the issues linked to the Middle East and the Sudan, various aspects of the world, parts of the world are, at the moment, it's a very, very sensitive and difficult time. And there's also the aspect of the cost of living crisis here. So there are various aspects that the King advanced with us, an interreligious understanding, something very close to his heart, is, I think, also linked to some of them. And if there was somebody who's spoken out on the environment, and remember his first speech on this was in 1970, so it's over half a century, and he gave the opening speech at COP28 in Dubai. I mean, I think, again, there he's made a very, very substantial contribution, and something he can continue to make, being above party politics, but being an issue which there is general agreement on it, if not necessarily in the way to achieve it.
Indeed. And I wonder then, the theme of stability and continuity at a time of, as you mentioned, the cost of living crisis there's a lot of upheaval in people's lives, Richard. But the monarchy itself, that symbol of continuity and nationhood, that's pretty secure at the moment, isn't it? And now we talk about family strife with Prince Harry, but with the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales, the monarchy looks more secure than perhaps it has done for some time.
I think that the stability and the continuity, and remember the monarchy go back 1,000 years, continuously bar the period of Cromwell. It's part and parcel of our way of life, and also there is the King's role of head of various institutions. It isn't so much the power that the monarch has, it's the power he denies to others that is, I think, part and parcel of our democracy. And I think from that point of view, he exemplifies the very best, since if you look, for example, at the Prince is now the King's Trust, which has helped over 1 million disadvantaged young people, the charitable work, William for the Earthshot Prize, Catherine for work on early childhood. This is something that royals are able to do, and they can also have a unique way of projecting charitable causes that are close to their hearts, and also best use of British soft power, I think, is royal trips abroad. Look at the King in Germany and in France, and dealing with very sensitive issues linked to the colonial period, of course, in Kenya.
Indeed. Richard, we'll end it there, but all that's left to say is a very Merry Christmas and God save the King. Richard Fitzwilliams, thank you very much for your time.